everybody, and welcome again. And I'm Stephanie Carmon from Mid-City Beat, and today again I'm with Carlos Sosa, who is a tour guide here in Yucatan, and I am super excited to have Carlos with me. Once again, we're going to be with Carlos every Wednesday. He is what I call my guru to Yucatan, because he knows so much about the area. He knows so much about where to go, off the beaten path, hidden places, cool little anecdotes of history, etc. So I'm inviting Carlos in today, and we are going to be talking about Chicxulub and the history of the asteroid in Chicxulub, which was a huge impact on the world that caused major havoc 66 million years ago. It made almost 70% of the population on the planet extinct. It caused tsunamis over kilometer high that the waves reached until Texas. It was just a phenomenal event that happened right here. Ground zero was Chicxulub. So we're going to call in Carlos. He's going to talk to us a little bit about that historic event. He's also going to talk to us about what you can do around the area of Chicxulub. So here we go. Carlos, hello again.
Hola.
Welcome.
Gracias, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien, muy bien. So again, I'm telling everybody how excited I am to have you with me today.
Gracias.
And that we are going to be, and that we are going to be talking about Chicxulub. That's our topic for today, which I'm calling the ground zero of where the comet hit 66 million years ago. So why don't you just start with a little introduction? I know last week you also gave us an introduction, and like I already told everybody, we're going to be having Carlos here every Wednesday with a new topic about Yucatan, about history, culture, etc. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Carlos.
I'm a tour guide, which is really crazy about things that I can find in all this part of the country. It's all involving everything you like: adventure, culture, history, anything, gastronomy, traditions. So we got a treasure that is waiting for us to see it.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And we're going to try to open that treasure a little bit, get a little peek in here on this series that I'm doing with you. So let's talk a little bit about Chicxulub and the history, the great history of what happened 66 million years ago. So can you tell us?
Just around the corner, huh?
Yeah, it's just around the corner. And I chose this topic because I'm going to be visiting Chicxulub during this month of February. So I'm going to be hoping to go and explore maybe some of the places that we'll talk about today, but then also kind of get a good history of what happened there. Yeah. So tell us.
Okay, this is a story that began, of course, 65 million years ago when that happened. But the today history about this began in 1958. Mm-hmm. 1958, there were some people working for Pemex, which is the oil company from Mexico. Right. They were doing some explorations on the area, looking for possible deposits of oil. And they found material, they found certain kind of elements that were telling them that there was something that was not really normal in a way. So they were finding like a formation that was giving them some kind of questions about it. So they start checking out the information of the material that was rescued when they were drilling those wells. Oh. And definitely the material that was found on those places, on those wells, that was used by Pemex, at that moment could not really be providing a lot of information. When they have they have this kind of feeling that they were into something that was totally abnormal, totally that was out of any other thing that they have seen before. So this material that they found was iridium that was mixed with a clay, with a brown clay. And this iridium is some kind of an element that is found on the earth in really tiny quantities. The only way how this amount of iridium can come into the earth is when it's brought by a outer space body. In this case, the asteroid.
Right.
We also found they also found tektites, which are like marbles, which are glass. And those tektites can only be formed in two ways. One of them, an impact of an asteroid because of the high temperatures that produces, and also the nuclear bombs that will be exploding. So it will be melting and crystallizing the glass. Those are like marbles, and they have been found all over the area, not only in this part of Yucatan.
Right.
They were found in different parts of the country. They were found in the Caribbean islands, but this seems to have been the result of this impact that just launched all this material in different directions. And the other one, they also found pink quartz. The pink quartz that was found also together with the other materials, it is something that is coming from really deep on the earth. And the same process is heat, what actually will be creating this kind of material in that case. So all these three elements let them know on that moment that something happened, and especially a body that impacted the earth and created all this material.
Right. So that was from the Pemex. So Pemex was there.
That was Pemex in 1958.
Okay, in 1958.
That was the first investigation. That was the first exploration that brought up this kind of material and the questions about what was it, what happened in that place. So later on, around the end of the 70s, there were more investigations. They were checking out, and then they found, using pictures that were taken by satellites, infrared pictures, they saw two rings, which if we divide the rings, the ends or the points, some of them were pointing south and the other ones were pointing north. So putting them together, it created a circle.
Right.
Those rings were the dolinas, or what they're called dolinas, which are actually the cenotes. So they saw that there was like a ring of cenotes in that place. So more investigations came, and they were analyzing more material. They were drilling wells in different directions, and they finally came to the point that it was a body that had impacted the earth. Now there have been a few investigations by different groups of people which have been working on this kind of event. At the very beginning, they all said that the diameter of the crater was 180 kilometers, which was roughly around 120, 130 miles or so.
Right, exactly.
Later on, years after, I'm going to jump from one time to the other one. They apparently found another crater or another ring that is 180 miles of diameter.
180 miles. 180 miles.
180 miles. Right. And the first one that they have seen, the 180 kilometers, which is about 130 miles, is just an interior wall.
Right.
I read once that they don't know exactly what happened. One proposed, but it's really hard to believe because it could be like a perfect aiming asteroid following the other one. So they said that first there was a big one that just created a 300 kilometers diameter, and then the second one came and created 180. So we don't really know exactly what happened in those cases. But anyway, what has been officially presented is the 180 kilometer crater that has been found.
Right, and I was reading that the asteroid was the size of Mount Everest, about the size.
Not really. Mount Everest has got about 7,000. About 7,000 feet or meters. I'm sorry. Right. And the asteroid was between 10 and 16 kilometers of diameter. So it was could be twice the height of Mount Everest. That could be.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. That's incredible.
So we're talking about an impact that when we come to this, let's say, information that is regarding the energy that was released by this body that hit it. In 1961, the Russians detonated a hydrogen bomb that was called the bomb of the Tsar.
Okay.
That had 50 megatons of power. We're talking about 50 millions of tons of TNT. The investigation, this program,
That's almost incomprehensible for me.
Exactly. Now, what is going to be more incomprehensible is what you're going to hear now. This body, or this asteroid that collided with the Earth, released energy that is 2 million times much bigger than the one of the bomb of the Tsar.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So you can imagine. That's not you can imagine. We cannot imagine what we're talking about.
We can't even imagine what happened. Right. No, absolutely.
This is something that is out of any mind. I mean, there is not even using zeros, because we're going to have a long line of zeros to understand how many tons of explosive would be involved with that.
Right.
This is something.
Also, and I said this in the introduction, I was also reading that the tsunamis that it formed would have been about a kilometer in height.
There were tsunamis. It launched volcanic eruptions. It also earthquakes and all the kinds of phenomena that took place right at the moment it collided with the Earth.
Right, and of course, destroyed about 70% of
the life.
Yeah.
Of the life. But the problem wasn't only the direct causes of the impact, but also what happened after. All the dust, the steam, and the cloud. I mean, and the smoke and everything that came out to the atmosphere blocked the sun for about 10 years. So what happened with that is that the sunlight could not reach the Earth, could not reach the surface. So there was it was like a greenhouse effect. So the temperature went up, and we missed saying that at the moment of the impact, all this material that was launched up to the air by the impact came down as fire, as a fire rain. Okay. So it started fires everywhere where that reached. The wave of energy was amazing, according to what they have studied or analyzed or have come to conclusions. But what happened is this block of the sunlight for about 10 years killed the process of photosynthesis on the plants.
Right.
So the plants die out, the grass eaters die out, and the meat eaters die after them.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So this is something that was affected in so many ways. We're talking about apocalypse, exactly what we're talking about. That.
Absolutely. Let's hope that that we don't have any asteroids heading here. Was it you that I was talking to not too long ago that there's another asteroid heading our way in the next 20 years or so?
Yeah, it's going to be around the 60s, 2060 or so. This is what they have said. It's not really that big, but big enough to give us a good shake.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. So what I think is, obviously really incredible is that this is just, a 45-minute drive from the centro of Mérida is really where the center of the crater is, right? The center of is in Chicxulub, which is right, not far, maybe about 8 kilometers from Progreso or so.
Exactly. It's really close.
Right. So tell us a little bit about the impact that it had right here in Yucatan. I remember when we were walking together at El Corchito, which is right across the bioreserve, right across from Progreso. This was about a month ago. I guess we were there now. We were walking along the path, and you're like, "Oh, look, there's a fossil. Look at this. This is millions of years old." And I was like, "No way!" And yeah, so tell us about that.
What happened is when the asteroid collided with the Earth, there was no peninsula. It was on the ocean. The continents have not been taken the shape that they have nowadays. So it not landed. It just came into the ocean. So everything that was material, the coral, shells, and any other material that was here was pulverized by this impact.
Right.
Later on, the sediment start coming down. Of course, this is something that you can see the two craters on the picture.
Right, exactly, right here.
The one that we're talking about, 180, is the interior one, and the other one is the one that I say that could have been caused by another one that precedes the second one that formed the smaller one. But it's hard to, unless it broke on the way in the atmosphere because of the friction, and that could be possible that one followed just after the other.
Right.
Otherwise, if they came two separate bodies before they enter the atmosphere, that will be very hard. That will be one after the other, just line up like that. But anyway, the impact created that. And I read the other day, and that really made me laugh a little bit, that the depth of the crater, according to this scientific investigation, was about 30 kilometers, which is just impossible. That cannot be done. The deepest, there's no way how we can prove that, because the deepest digging that has been made by men is about 12 kilometers, 12.5 kilometers.
Oh, okay.
So there's no way that we can reach the bottom of this 30-kilometer crater, according to what they say, and rescue the material to find out exactly that happened. Apparently, what they have found, they found a layer of a material that is some kind of a stone that is called igneous stone, which is under the surface, which is produced by heat. Okay. And they said at the very beginning, they said it was a dome of lava. But we are not in the area of volcanoes, so dome of lava will not be that close to the surface around here. So it was a different kind of material that was formed by the heat, by the asteroid. And that is located about 1,000 meters below the surface. Under that layer, there was another layer for about 500 meters of glass. That could be the origin of the tektites. So it seems that the bottom of the crater is about a mile deep, which could be about 1,600 meters of depth.
Right. That's
and that is more logical, or probably could be a little bit more, but not 30 kilometers. That is out of any question. That is no way that it could be that. And then what happened? All this sediment, when the water was expulsed and vaporized because of the heat of the impact, gradually it all became water start coming into the place, and then the sediment start forming, and the sediment was solidifying. But later on, the plaques were moving up, and the peninsula started merging. We're talking, the youngest part of Yucatan is about 5 million years.
Okay.
That is the youngest part of the peninsula.
Of the land mass of the peninsula.
Exactly. And then what happened, all this in this crater, which is where all the sediment was coming inside and it was solidifying, is what is inside the crater is what became the karst, which is the limestone plaque that we have in this area. That is why the concentration of cenotes is located inside the crater, because the material is really soft. It's all limestone that was solidified, and it's very porous. So the walls of the crater that will be coming like a tube, or so, like a cylinder or something like that, with certain kind of angle, made all the water start running down, and the limestone dissolves with the water. So that is why we can see that the ring of cenotes is near the rim of the crater, because that is exactly what the water was coming into. And before the water spread out, and by gravity was going into the ocean, it was breaking the stones, but it was taking different directions. That is why the closer we get to Merida, the closer we get to the coast, the cenotes are not so close to each other.
Right.
That is why you can see the ring of cenotes, which is following or is parallel to the rim of the crater. That's when you have them so close to each other, 100 meters to 1 or 2 blocks, even less than that. You can see cenotes very close to, because that is exactly the first part of the land or the terrain that was dissolved by the water that came into the cenote and broke the limestone.
Right. Okay. So I have a picture up here. Can you see it? Of so what you're describing here. So here's the crater, and then the cenotes are along this ring.
Along the circle that is inland.
Yeah. Exactly.
That is what is called that is what is called the belt of cenotes.
Right. Okay.
Remember Muna?
Yes.
The town Muna. Okay. Muna is right next to the hills, which is called the low hills. The low hills of the Puc, Now, that part of the hills is the rim of the crater.
So Muna, okay, can you see the picture here on the screen, Carlos?
It's too small, I cannot really see it. But Muna is right by the line, by the ring.
Right. Yeah.
And what happened when you get to the top of the hills in Muna, you all of a sudden you can see like a vast plain in front of you, looking north. That is a crater, but it's been filled up with sediment, so we don't see the whole depth. That is why we never knew that there was something here, because that crater or the bottom is at least about 1,000 meters of sediment on top of it, or probably more than that.
Right, right, right.
That is why we cannot see it, or we couldn't see it before. There was this investigation, these explorations, all the pictures that were taken by NASA when they were mapping the Earth and all that. That is what came, put together all the information, and then this is when all the investigations done by this there was a geologist, Luis Alvarez, and his son that was, I don't remember his son names. It was Wilbur or William or something like that. But they were working a lot on this, and those are the ones that put together all the information. Later on, they came all the groups that were trying to, in a way, to change or disqualify the information that was done. But finally, there was like a symposium around the beginning of the 1000 or so, where 30 different geologists, scientific from different parts of the world, from different universities, and they all came analyzing all the information together, and they just discharged what the other ones were saying. Like the asteroid did not create the conditions in order to make the dinosaur disappear or the fauna disappear, and this other group was saying that happened. That happened 300,000 years before the animals disappeared, which is really doesn't have any sense, because they could not really disappear 300,000 years before the impact came, because there was no other events that could have caused this kind of conditions for this fauna to disappear.
Right, right, right. So, well, okay, so let's talk about, okay, so it was formed, basically all of the cenotes in Yucatan. That's why Yucatan is probably filled with so many cenotes.
Yeah, well, the whole peninsula is limestone. And cenotes are not only found on the crater. That's what I mentioned to you before. The highest concentration of cenotes is inside the crater, because it's a very soft limestone.
Okay.
But the rest of it is what is called the karst, which is also limestone that allows the water to go through it. That is why you can see cenotes along the coast of Quintana Roo. You can see so many. In fact, in that area, we have the longest system of cenotes in the whole world, with more than 350 kilometers of galleries. They are connected. Connected with different ones, but we can find cenotes. What happens is cenotes, if the terrain it is higher from the sea level, more than 60 or more than 50 meters above it, it's hard to find them, because there will be mainly dry caves we're going to find instead of cenotes, because the water levels like this, the terrain is going in this direction, going up. So the closer we get into the ocean, the easier it will be to find cenotes. The further away that we go, we will never find cenotes. We might find bodies of water inside the caves because of the filtration, but they're not cenotes.
Right.
And that is why around the Puc Hills, it's hard to find cenotes. We're going to find hundreds of caves along that area. On the southern side of Yucatan, especially Tecash or Xcuscap, Ticul, and those places, there's so many caves.
But they're not.
But no cenotes.
But not the cenotes, right?
Not the cenotes, because the terrain is too high in relation to the sea level.
Sure, right.
So the water table is very deep.
Right, yeah. Well, okay, so kind of going back to the area of Chicxulub. So now, like, for example, people have asked me, so can you go and see a monument to the crater or some sort of museum? What if you go to Chicxulub Puerto, which is a little town? What can we see here? And I'll show you some pictures.
Well, what you can do in Chicxulub, you can do a few things, but nothing is related to the crater or to the dinosaurs or anything like that. You can go to the mangroves. You can see fauna, wildlife. You can all that. But if you go a little further away, going east towards Telchac Puerto, you can reach an area that is called Ixcambó. Ixcambó is an archaeological site, a small one, that is located on the other side of the mangroves, and that could be probably about 700 meters, 7 blocks away or something like that from the ocean, from the sea.
Right.
But in between the sea and Ixcambó, that is the estuary. And in between Ixcambó and the road, there's a salt flat, or there are salt flats in that place. Those salt flats, the one in Ixcambó, were made by the Mayas, and they're still known as pre-Hispanic salt flats. There's people working in that place, and they are producing salt. They're harvesting salt in that place. And
Right.
if you look around in those places, there will be a moment that water is going to be pink, because in that kind of water there is a bacteria that is called Dunaliella salina, which is the one that has carotene and provides the food to the Artemia salina, which is the brine shrimp, and all that pink, that color, is caused by the carotene. That is why when flamingos and rosette spoonbill eat that this kind of Artemia or this kind of brine shrimp, because of the carotene, their feathers will be changing into the pink color. But this is exactly what happened. This is Escambau.
Yeah. So, okay. So this is pink because of a bacteria.
Exactly. And that happens when the water is evaporated and the concentration of bacteria are reduced in the smaller bodies of water.
Right.
And when it dries out, that's when they pick up the salt, which is why you can see those little hills of salt in that place.
So, okay, so here, this, you were saying in relation to Chicxulub, this is, let's say, how many kilometers to the east?
From Chicxulub, you're talking about 28, no more than 30 kilometers. Right. It's right before you get to Telchac.
Right.
You will see the sign that says Escambau, and that's where you have to turn. And at the moment you turn, will be about 300 meters on the right side. You're going to start seeing all the salt flats. And you can get off in that place, walk in one of the aisles in that place, and you will find the people that work in that place, which also sell you the bags of salt, the natural salt. This is something you can get at.
Right. So here, let's see, just kind of, if we look at the map here of Yucatan, you can see that here is, we can zoom it out a little bit, but here's Progreso, you know, here's Merida down here. You go up here to Progreso.
Here's you go towards east and you will see Telchac. And after that, you see Santa Clara, San Crisanto,
right.
A few other ones. You get to Silam de Bravo. And in Silam de Bravo, the road ends. And you got about 50 kilometers almost, and you reach San Felipe and Rio Lagartos.
Right, right, which is
the road does not continue along the coast when all the way to get to San Felipe. You had to go back inland, take another road, and go back north again to get to San Felipe and to Rio Lagartos. But all along that coast, there are salt flats.
Right. And okay, so tell us a little bit about this. So here is the salt flats, and this was a archaeological zone. So these are the Ixcambó, yeah, exactly. So these are the salt flats where the Maya, they cultivated the salt there, or what?
Exactly. They all that salt, all the way from Celestún to Rio Lagartos, Las Coloradas, and a little bit beyond, that was the area of where the Mayas were producing salt. And nowadays, still salt is produced, of course, in smaller and less quantities than used to be before, except Las Coloradas.
Okay.
That is the second salt flat in the whole country. The first one is located in Baja California. It's called Guerrero Negro, which actually is owned by Japanese. It's not really owned by Mexico, no? But the second one is Las Coloradas. But all along the coast, there was a production, has been always a production of salt. And salt was the only ingredient that Mayan people had on those days in order to be commercialized.
Right. So they traded salt.
They traded anything else that they needed. Jade, obsidian, turquoise, cocoa seeds, and whatever was not produced in this area. And it was brought by other groups that came from different parts of the Southeast, Chiapas, Guatemala, and those places. It was traded by these Mayas with salt. And along the coast, there were different small places that were like the ports where they were doing that. And also, Mayans built artificial islands in order to be like ports. Like one of them is called Jaina, that is in Campeche. Between Jaina and Celestún, there were two other ones that was called Guaymil and Punta Piedra. And from that point, the next one will be located in San Felipe. That's called Isla Cerritos. And those are the places.
They were like little islands of salt?
No. They were islands that were built by the Mayas. They were artificial islands that were connected to the mainland by sac bays. And those are the places where they moved the salt to be traded with the people that were coming in canoes from different places.
And just real quick, a sac bay is the how would you call it?
Road. The stone road.
Roads, yeah, the roads.
Exactly, that connect the cities, but they also built a sac bay going through the mangroves and filling that up, like building a pier that will be connected with the island that is out on the ocean.
Right.
So
Okay.
normally we're talking,
Is a pathway, like a pathway.
It's a pathway, but it was totally paved. I mean, not paved, but totally built with a stone and covered with stucco.
Right.
So it was like a paved road.
Right.
But those islands were really close to the mainland. They were not really that far. They were Jaina is only about 200 meters away from the mainland, as well as Cerritos, and the ones that are really close. Other ones were really practically inside the mangrove, the estuary.
Yeah.
So it involves a lot of things.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Well, and in Yucatan, the salt is so rich and so full of minerals. If you get natural salt from Yucatan, it's a lovely nutrients. I use it as we call this the suero that we call it here.
That they are draped from the salt. In fact, they gave you a bag. Did you use it, or did you give it to the peer assistant?
Oh no, I still have a huge bag. I gave her like half, and I still have about this much. And I put a little note here when I'm feeling a little dehydrated, or when it's a little.
Put a little piece in your mouth. Put a little piece in your mouth.
I put it. Well, what I do is I put a little piece of that salt, like that pure rock salt from the salt flats here in Yucatan, in water with some lime
and sugar. I put a little bit of sugar.
Oh, you put sugar? I don't put sugar.
Sugar and salt and lime, and then you got suero.
And then you got suero, and it really does. It like rejuvenates you, and you get your minerals you need. It's great.
Exactly. You know what we do when we go out hiking, and we go out when we're gonna have long walks out on the path or trekking or anything like that? I take some salt of that one with me, because I put a little piece in my mouth, and that keeps me hydrated. Yeah.
So Carlos, so if people want to go, go to Chicxulub, I mean, and see the puerto, what are they going to see? I know you said there's not too much in Chicxulub, but what could people do if they want to do a little day excursion? Maybe go check out the beaches in Chicxulub, which I'll show you some of the pictures. They're really nice.
Along the coast, like in Chelem, in Telchac, in Santa Clara, San Crisanto, in San Benito, and those places along that area, there are co-ops of fishermen that will take in small boats, like what we did in Corchito.
Right.
You can do it in Telchac. You can do it in Santa Clara, in the other ones, in the ones along the coast, in Santa Clara, Chabijao, and those places. You can do that. There are excellent seafood restaurants along the coast.
Right. So what you're talking about, like those little, you can hire a little boat and go for an excursion in the boat.
Not out to the ocean, but to the estuary.
Right.
Through the mangroves.
Through the mangroves. Right.
Exactly.
And like what we did, we went to the Corchito. So the Corchito is a nice place to go visit. And again, I mean, I know I kind of brushed over that topic, but as you're walking along in the Corchito, you pointed out to me that you can look down and find fossils.
Oh yeah,
literally.
That is the result of on the quarries. When the constructing companies go in order to extract sand for construction and to make all these stones to make gravel, they hit the fossils. They hit the shells that have been captured or trapped on the sand, on the limestone. So you can find pieces, chunks of a stone, limestone, with all these shells incrusted onto it. So you're talking about millions of years of that. If you have one of these pieces on your hand, you might be having something that is as old as 20 million years or so.
Right. Which I thought is incredible, because you think of fossils, and I mean, at least I think of fossils, and I'm thinking, okay, you see them in museums, and you don't really see them along like million-year-old fossils along the pathway as you're.
You can see shells and the small like like snails or anything like that, like the seashells. All that is on the stone.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna show. I believe I actually have some pictures here. Let me see if I can get this. This picture here. Well, we'll see. I might have to work a little bit for it, but
you can find it later.
Yeah, I can find it later. Here we go. Let's see. Can you see the pictures of this? Is us in the Corchito. But here you can see these are the mangroves. This is right across from Progreso.
From the spot.
Right, exactly.
I know that guy.
Hey, look at this guy. The first day I met Carlos and I realized I had a treasure here. And yeah, this is a nice little jaunt you could go over. And,
That is interesting because you can see the different kinds of mangroves, and the importance of the mangroves in this kind of cases is just amazing. And
right.
besides that, you can see fauna. We saw quatimundis and we saw raccoons.
Exactly. And there's what you said, there's 4 different types of mangroves in here.
And you can find also a lot of birds in that place.
Right. Oh, and tell us about this. You were talking, I took a picture of you here when you were telling us about these are trees that collect the salt. Tell us a little bit.
You're talking about the botoncillo, which is a kind of mangrove. All the mangroves feed on the water that is on the estuary, which is brackish water. The streams or these kind of springs which are coming from inland will be merging into the estuary, into the mangroves, and they'll be mixing with the sea. So we have brackish water, but it still has a lot of salt. So the mangroves absorb the water to feed on, but some of these trees assign, like they have like volunteers, which are leaves that will be concentrating all the salt. It's like they're draining the salt from most of the leaves to most of the tree to one particular, not one, but there will be a few of those leaves in every tree that will be concentrating all the salt that is absorbed by the roots, and they will be exposed through the leaf. And normally it will be a yellow leaf that is the one that has the salt on it. And in fact, you tried one of those and it was salty.
Right. Yeah, I tried one. Yeah.
And it's called the botoncillo. It's called botoncillo, the name of the brand, the kind of mangroves. You got red, white, and botoncillo, and the black one.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to show the fossil. There was one of the fossils that you picked up. You said, "Look, this is a fossil. This is millions of years old." So you can. This obviously is from when the asteroid hit.
Exactly. Well, not when the asteroid hit, but it was the result of all these events that took place and happened, and then when it solidified, captured all these shells that survived or that were formed later on, and now you have it on the pieces of stones. That is the result of the constructing companies digging, having the quarries in order to extract material for construction, and pieces of those ones will be having small shells on it.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating.
And it's not really rare that once in a while you can see what we call the cantera of Yucatan, which is stones that came from the hills. And those places normally, many times when you can see in houses of stones that came from these quarries that are inside the crater, you will see that on your wall you might find a shell or a piece of a shell on it. Right.
Wow. Yeah, it's incredible. We live in an incredible place. You know, I always said I actually wrote about this anecdote a while back, but I was sitting at Hacienda Tea in Paseo 60 with a couple of our friends, and we were drinking a mezcal, and we were thinking, what is it about Yucatan? You know, because they say, you know, if you drink the well water, that's the local myth.
If you drink the cenote water or the well water,
yeah,
you will never leave, or you will come back.
you never leave. And so we were kind of talking about, you know, what is it about it here in Yucatan? And so we just all decided that it was the cosmic energy of the asteroid that hit here that just, you know, makes it a magnet for foreigners, for people from all over Mexico, and of course the Yucatecans. It really is a magical place, and I think it has to do with the asteroid that hit.
What happens is the water from the cenotes and the wells, they have a poison that only in Yucatan you got an antidote. So if you leave Yucatan, you will die.
There you go. Exactly. Well, Carlos, we'll go ahead and finish up for today. There's a lot of information, and thank you so much. And next week we will be back and we will talk about the topic, and I'll let everybody know what our next topic is. Also, if you have a topic that you would like to hear about, send me a message.
Why don't you ask to the ones which are watching, that are joining us, if there's something that they want to be talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. You can either comment now, or you can send me a message on Mid-City, and
exactly.
Hey, I want to learn about this, and I'm sure Carlos could help us learn about it.
If it could be about nature, could be about archaeological places, it could be about the history of Yucatan. You know, there are so many topics that we can mix with or get into it, so we can have plenty information. We have enough material to be talking.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll go ahead and finish up. Again, I'm going to put up Carlos's number if you happen to want a personal tour guide. Carlos gives tours.
That is not my number.
That's not your number. Oh, geez.
No, that's not my number.
That was a number from somebody else. Okay, let's see. Where's your number? That's not your number. I thought I put it up last time.
No.
Okay, let's. Okay, what is your number, Carlos?
9992.
92.
9992.
Okay.
51.
51. Okay.
38 54.
38 54. Okay, I think we got that one.
I'm sorry. 34 58. I'm sorry.
We should probably figure this out before we're on here. Okay, so 9992 51
34 58.
34 58. Okay. I know I do the same thing because sometimes when you're used to saying it in Spanish all the time, then it's kind of hard to cross over.
There you go. That's it.
There we go. That's it. Okay. So back to my spiel.
And also my email.
Yes, and your email. I'll add that in here. And also I'll put all this in the written part as well. But if you want to get a hold of Carlos, you can call him or you can write him an email, which I will put. It will be in the written part.
Send me a text on WhatsApp and I'll get in touch with him.
Exactly. Because he gives private tours and group tours, of course, all over. And yes, so don't forget to make sure you give a like and a share if you appreciated this video, and follow us on Mid-City Beat. Also, if you want to know about what's going on on a daily basis, you can follow me on my stories on Mid-City Beat Stories and Mid-City Beat Instagram Stories, on Facebook and Instagram Stories. I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be in Chicxulub and kind of doing a little Discover Yucatan for the month of February. So I'll be up and down that coast. So
be careful, don't get beaten by a dinosaur.
Yeah. I'm going to be looking for evidence of that crater, and I'll be sharing it with everybody. As we all know, I'm a sharer. So thanks so much, Carlos, and we will see you again next week. And thanks everybody for tuning in.
Sure, we'll see you.
Bye.
Bye. Gracias.
Gracias.